Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Friday and welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal, your hostess with the mostest awesome guests and viewers. And yes, as you can see, my eyes are still a bit red. I accidentally put castor oil in my eyes a few days ago, and my eyes definitely don't like castor oil. So I've had to nurse myself with lots of colloidal silver, and now at least I'm almost YouTube ready. But no, I'm not drunk. Promise, I'm completely 100% sober, just with recovering eyes. And on that note, I have our amazing, my fellow South African sister, Mandy Vermaak, on today. And Mandy she's going to be chatting to us about the LifeWave technology, the patches. But I want to just say up front, there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about on air. So we're going to talk about as much as what we can, purely because for no other reason than she gets strikes from LifeWave if we put the product in danger, that type of stuff, just by saying stuff. You all know what it's like here on these channels. How many times have I been struck for medical misinformation, right? So we don't want to be doing that again. Not yet anyway. But we're going to be chatting about that. And I want to just, I know I've had a lot of messages and emails asking about our position here in South Africa at the moment. Of course, we've had an incredible week. I'm going to do a program on that, actually. I'm working on doing a show on that and just putting together a lot of stuff. We're fine. I just want to make it very clear as well to our international viewers, there's words, the fake news uses words that they continue on and on. One of the words they love to use right now is ambush. How President Trump ambushed Cyril in the White House. So they're using that as a narrative that he was ambushed. He was not ambushed. He came in there ready to tell terrible lies. And the one thing about President Donald Trump, is that we know he smells out lies, and all he was after was the truth. But anyway, we're going to be chatting about that. And but what I wanted to say, they speak about genocide as well, and that's another word they're using. I want to make it clear that although our crime rate is very high, yes, there's a lot of crime against white South Africans as well as every other color South African. So I wouldn't go as far as saying there's genocide against every white South African. There's genocide against the white farmers, yes. And there's a difference. And you see, that's what I'm seeing in the media is what we need to discern between. It doesn't mean that that's not opening up the way for future, but I do want to just make that differentiation, because there's a lot of people that think all of the whites are under genocide. It's the farmers that are under genocide right now. Definitely, I would use the word genocide. But as the average white person walking around on the street, no, we're not under genocide. But I'm not saying that it can't go that way in the future. But I'm very grateful to each and every one of you who've followed the story here in our country. It's been going on for a very long time. And whether you agree or not with our past, and I don't agree with our past, but that's beside the point. People are getting murdered in the most horrific ways, tortured, and have been for a long time, for crimes they did not actually commit at all. But it's part of the process, I guess. But thank you to each and every one of you who have been following our story and supporting us South Africans. It's been a long, long, long time that this has been just swept under the carpet, and it's time that it came out, and not just for us, but for the African people as well. We've been handed a fake democracy. Racial tensions have never been this high before. And we know that Southern Africa is being used as kind of like well, we kind of use as a template for the rest of the world. But we're going to get into that in one of the shows I'm going to do next week. So thank you. And without any further ado, here is my fellow South African Dara, Mandy Vermaak. Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Hello, Chantal. So nice to be with you this afternoon.
You're a little bit quiet. Can you
Quiet?
tweak your
Can you
mic? Yeah, that's much better, actually.
I was just being soft.
We've had you on before, and before we were talking with you about your son and the passing of your son. How are you doing with that now?
So, I share with people there's just a variant of sadness. Sometimes some days are sadder than others, but it's my reality. So it doesn't get much better. But you know what? We have really good days, and then we have one or two really bad days. And that's okay too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. Well, I always think about you, Mandy, and it's a very heart-wrenching thing to go through. But man, when we're able to transform through that kind of pain, it's quite miraculous what comes out on the other end and never stops radiating at the end of the day, which is obviously why, I know you big into natural health and healing, and I know you do a lot with your essential oils and also the LifeWave technology, which is what we want to talk to you about today. So maybe you can just start sharing with us, what is LifeWave technology? Where is it? Where did it come from? What is it?
So LifeWave is I actually refer to it as ahead of its time. Yeah. Because, when you look at this little patch and you realize what it can do for people's wellness, it does seem like it's a little too good to be true. And it does seem like it's too simple to be too good to be true. Because I think over the last few decades, we've made our well-being very complicated. I think we have wonderful humans that understand that we need very little to support our bodies in the most natural way. But unfortunately, the majority of people have turned to ideas that make our well-being very complicated. So then we search for things on the external instead of on the internal.
Right. Absolutely. And everything is inside of us, right? Everything we need is inside us. And when we become aware of that, healing becomes a joy. It's not something that's horrible or difficult. It actually becomes a joy. Yeah.
And I think the technology of LifeWave, what really is amazing for me is that it's based on light. So, we know that we are light beings. We know that the more light is filling our cells is what's making us have optimal well-being. And so that really got me going in the beginning, is that we can put this little patch on our body and profoundly send wonderful light back into our cells for optimal health.
So when you say light, I know, okay, I want to just preface this, and maybe you can also just speak to the viewers, because I know there's a lot we can't talk about sort of publicly on air. So what we're going to do is later on, we're going to actually invite everyone who's interested, to a closed meeting that can't be recorded, because obviously, as the place that we're in right now, you can get hammered for that. And of course, so can the channel. So we don't really want that. But maybe just explain what you can. I know that you are a little bit restricted right now when we talk about light technology.
So, we know that light has been used for years. If we look at incubators with babies, and if we look at so many modalities where they've used light. We just look at the sun, for instance. We know that if we go out into the sun, our body understands those light frequencies and is using that to produce vitamin D inside our bodies. So our bodies are very responsive to light and understand light very well. So when we look at this little patch, and most people think that you require an external light to get it going. It's not like that at all. So this little patch needs to be placed on the body, and it's using the body's infrared heat. In the middle of the patch is what we call amino acid plant-based crystals. So nothing that's unnatural is going into the body whatsoever. In fact, nothing is going into the body other than light. So when we place the patch on our body, it utilizes the body's infrared heat. It's bouncing off the crystals, a little like mirrors, which are then sending photolight therapy back into our bodies, into our meridian pathways, unblocking blockages and switching on healing processes. Now, it sounds like it's rolling off my tongue, Chantal, and it sounds like, okay, that's interesting. But, is it a little bit too woo for us? Because it's just a little patch. And yet the testimonials that we get from people around the world are unbelievable. We have some amazing testimonials to share on your close platform when we do that, because I will be sharing them. So, that's all it is. That's talking to the body like a radio and a receiver. And so the body is responding to the different wavelengths of light that are being sent back into the body. And so each patch in the range is very similar. They all look the same. So how do they work differently? Each patch has got a different pattern of crystals. Now, I do believe that David has used some of the mathematical equations in the Bible to produce the patches. And also, I think there's a fair amount of sacred geometry that's been used in the patches. So we will never know, because David, keeps his secrets close to his heart. You're not allowed in the lab. The very few people have been in his lab, and I don't blame him, because you do not want his wonderful technology to get out there. So we will never fully know, because it's based on nanotechnology. So those little crystals are so tiny, you cannot pick them up with the naked eye, and you will not be able to see how they are placed. So we've actually seen a photograph, very interestingly, of the patch under a microscope, and all you see is these little, it looks like it's a woven fiber inside there, but you cannot see anything else. So he's very cleverly created something that, I say it yet again, that is well ahead of its time.
Right. David is obviously the creator of the patches. So can you tell us a little bit about him, and how did he come on this technology?
So David is an inventor. He's not a medical professional. He works with medical professionals to do his clinical studies. He's actually an incredible inventor. His family are also very much that way inclined. And he was put into a group working with the Navy Marines, and he was trying to find solutions for issues that they were having at any given time. At one point, they were trying to find a way to give them more oxygen if anything happened in the submarine. And so he came up with a canister that held 7 hours of oxygen. So they thought, okay, well, this guy's a little cleverer than the rest of the group. Let's move him to another group. And then he started working on something to give them more energy, because they are required to stay awake for large periods of time, and obviously using things that are not great, other stimulants like coffee, probably energy drinks and all of that, trying to keep themselves awake. And then he came up with the first patch, which was the energy enhancer. And from there, his story doesn't read like a very big success. I mean, you can imagine, Chantal, 20 years ago, a little patch that gives the body light, and everyone's like, whatever.
It feels like cocaine, well, I guess, right? That some kind of a high that they've never experienced before.
So Yari had a wonderful little patch that increased the energy and reset the body's energy in the most amazing way, using light, totally natural, without any side effects. So he went off and he knocked on so many doors, and you can just imagine the amount of no's he got. But what happened was he was actually introduced to a doctor, and the doctor was working with a coach who was the head coach of the USA swimming women's team. That year, they were actually at the Olympic trials, and he said, look, give me the patches, let me try them out. I'm willing to do anything if it's natural and it's not giving them any kind of stimuli or something like that, and not, giving them anything to their body, and we can prove that, I'm happy to use it. And he obviously had some insight into the patches, and he placed them on all the swimmers, and they betted their best that year. And there was a big ha-hoo about it, because it was at the Olympic trials. And so anything that happens as far as doping is a really big story. The other swimmers said, well, they've got these patches on. They were taken off and sent off to the doping committee. They were tested. Nothing came of it. They said, well, there's nothing in the bloodstream. We've tested them. Nothing is coming in the urine. So they can keep the patches. This is not increasing their stamina and performance in any unnatural way. And that's when word got out. And so I don't know if David would have got it out there in any other way. That was almost divinely guided, in the sense that all the athletes at the Olympic trials heard about this, because it was all over the page, all over the newspapers. And so they all decided, well, if they can use it, we can use it. And that's how it got going. So David started there. And then he had two options. He could either privatize it and he could sell it in shops and whatever, or he could join the industry of network marketing. And the reason why he did that, because many people kind of frown upon it because they think it's that pyramid scheme or whatever. But the reason why he did it is because it requires education. You couldn't put a sleeve of patches on a shelf and expect someone to understand the technology. So it would need a belly-to-belly contact where people were educating other people as to what to do with the patches, so that they would know exactly how to benefit themselves going forward. So, when you understand that, then you don't think of it negatively as far as I'm concerned. So that was really the reason why he chose that, and also how he really got the patches out there.
Well, I have to say, these patches are quite amazing. Can I say what they are? I just want to make sure that I can mention the names of them, Mandy.
You can?
Okay. I've used the X39, and then the Eon, and then the Energy Enhancer. And it is, I don't have health problems, but for me, what was prevalent was, at a certain time in the afternoon, I'd have an energy dip. And I felt I wanted to see how that evened out. And I must say, on the second day, I could feel the difference completely. I was using the X39 behind my neck, and you obviously put them in certain parts of the body, right? And then I would alternate between the Eon on the one day and then the Energy Enhancer, because the Energy Enhancer has the two patches. So then the Energy Enhancer on each of the wrists. You can literally feel the difference. And I know for each person, it's different. They're going to feel it sooner or maybe take longer depending on their condition, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I knew, and someone said to me, you must drink a lot of water when you're using them. So I drank a lot of water, and that, I don't know if it helped it, but it felt really great. When I was using it, I definitely did not have that dip anymore. And that is evened out for me. That's what I want to say. I don't have that, even though now I've got my mom on them, because she's got early stages of dementia and high blood pressure. Her energy levels, like literally from day one, shifted completely. It was amazing, the difference you can see with these things. And I know in extreme conditions, I know when we're talking about the testimonials and stuff, and I know we can't do it here, but I'm just trying to speak a little bit through my experience, what I've seen, and also just a couple of people that I've spoken to. It is a phenomenal product. It's actually amazing, and it's literally a round little Band-Aid, like maybe 2 inches across, right? Yeah. It's phenomenal, though.
So it is important for you to drink water because it helps with the conductivity between the cells. So remember that dehydrated cells don't function properly. We require to be fully hydrated. It's important, and we also require being mineralized as well. So we need to add. What's very good is I actually use a solution called Soleil. I don't know if any of your listeners are going to know anything of it, and I'll share a little booklet for you that you can share to them as well. This little book is not easily found, and what you do is you need to make sure that you're taking good quality Himalayan salt, and you are putting it in distilled water, so it must be completely clean water, and you keep on adding these little rocks of salt until they're no longer dissolving. And once that happens, you can take a teaspoon of that on an empty stomach in the morning, and you can remineralize. That's actually the right salt constituency for our bodies. The book is incredible to read, and the solutions can be used for so many different health issues as well. So I'll send that to you.
Oh wow, that'll be amazing. I'd love to. Yes, flip.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah, you know, and this is what I love about this is like the more we get to understand. I mean, and you all know on this channel as well, I'm a great Spooky 2 fan of the Rife machines. I really like the Rife machines, and I really like the patches. I've got to say, between the two, for me, I think that's the answer. You know, people, I mean, whatever people's preference or their choices, you know. I'm just looking here, Cynthia saying, I tweaked my knee for weeks. I couldn't get it to feel better. Let me just pop this up here.
Okay.
I work in the vitamin aisle at the local Sprouts. I know all kinds of remedies. I've heard of these patches for years, and just by chance, a customer gave me 10x39. I put as instructed the first 2 days, and then just put it on my knee. And one day the pain was gone. It's amazing. So it really does. The X39 seems to be the daddy of, or shall we say the mommy of all the patches, right?
Actually, no, you can refer to the dad, and I'll tell you why, because we always refer to everything to the mommies, but this will be a dad, because your X49 is the daughter peptide of the daddy peptide, which is the GHKCU.
Okay,
so
fine.
Our dad patch, which is the X39, is the peptide that we're elevating is a GHKCU peptide, and the X49 is an AHKCU peptide. So it's interesting because David actually talks of 4 patches in the regenerative range. So I'm assuming there's a brother and a mother, and then we have a family.
Right. Wow. So we're getting the whole family now. Sounds good. But I'm interested to know, how did you get involved with, because you are actually, I do believe, the reason that LifeWave is in South Africa. You brought LifeWave to South Africa, right?
Well, do you know what happened, Chantal? I've heard the story, very interesting story. First of all, there was a group way before me. They were a group of doctors. They were medical professionals that were going to bring LifeWave in, as the story goes. So they brought the patches in, but what happened was, I think in the interim, they did not build the business. They were just using the patches and trying them out. Because I met a lovely lady that's part of our team now in PE, and she relayed the story. Now, I've also heard that there is another person that brought the patches in. He was a homeopath in PE. And he was working with the patches as well, but also not growing the business. So you cannot sustain the product if you aren't growing the business, because all you're doing is just bringing it in for you. I think he passed on, and his son never took it on after he had passed on. And then there was no one doing the patches in South Africa. So when I was introduced to the patches, it was actually through a cancer client who was coming to me for cancer treatment in my wellness practice. And so she came with the information, and she said to me, well, Mandy, you know, this looks very similar to what you do with a treatment that you are offering me. It sounds really interesting. Shall we check it out? And I said, okay, well, give me the information. And I looked at it, and I was already like connected to it, because I understood exactly what the technology was all about. what really spiked my interest, Chantal, is that many people that were coming to me to get treatment were lying on my beds, often going, "How much longer, Mandy? How much longer?" And I was like, dude, that's why you're here, because you don't get off this thing and you don't allow your mind to actually, switch off. So I realized we have become our own worst enemy. We have got too much that we do. We don't take enough time out for ourselves to heal. So what's happening is we've got so many balls that we're juggling in the air. We actually require something that is going to help us on an ongoing basis carry on with our busy lifestyles and still fix our bodies. And that's why when I read and I started understanding what LifeWave was all about, it just blew my mind, because this was the most incredible way to tap into our body's own healing processes, upping its functionality whilst you carried on with life. So it was a no-brainer.
That for me was very interesting, because when I initially started investigating and researching LifeWave, for me it was very important that it's not a product we get addicted to. So it's got to be something that kind of kickstarts your own system and gets you into the place of having your body kind of heal itself. But yes, as a support. And for me, that was amazing, because that's what it's absolutely done for me. I used it for that month, and just, to get through, and literally within a few days, I felt like already on a par. And there'd be a couple of days I'd forget to take it, and I go, oh, heck, let me not take it, put it on. But all throughout, and that must be at least 6 months ago now, and all throughout, I've maintained that. So my body, unless, of course, I haven't slept properly, that's a different story. But my body has gotten used to being in that biorhythm of not having that dip anymore. So and that for me is invaluable, I have to say. That daytime tired for me killed me with my afternoon meetings and stuff like that. It was a killer. And now I don't have that anymore.
You know what I want to share on that, Chantal? Because what many people don't realize, some people use the energy enhancers and say to me, "Oh, Mandy, I don't actually feel any different." And the problem is, we've got a wonderful doctor in our team, Dr. Charles Durant, and he was explaining why this happens, because most people are not on baseline when they start the patches. They're below baseline. So which means is they're not just exhausted, they are excessively exhausted, which means we still have to get them to baseline and then over for them to feel, oh my word, look at how much energy I've got. So most people who start energy enhancers, they go, well, I don't feel like it's working. I don't feel like I've got more energy. Well, that's because we're trying to fill up your cup first before you start to feel what our wonderful technology does. And this was something that I never really fully understood until I listened to Dr. Charles, and I was like, oh my word, this is probably most people's issues. They are below the baseline. So they will not totally feel what the patches are doing until they are on baseline, and then have to go slightly past it to realize, okay, well, my mental clarity is better. My physical is better. I'm feeling like I'm more human is possibly what they start to feel like, because we don't realize how we've exhausted our resources in our body because of what we do each day.
That is so true. Now, there's an array of patches. Maybe you can just give us an idea of what they help with and how would one use them?
So our Eon patches are for those individuals, and I'm going to not refer to it as it is, but I'm going to refer to it as I can at the moment. So this one is there for those that cannot deal with life. When life is just too much and you are juggling all those balls, this is the one that you are going to want to use on an ongoing basis. Then we've got our wonderful ice wave, and it's exactly what it does. So ice meaning cooling, meaning giving us, taking away discomfort. We know that this one is this, we call this our party trick, because this for me is, we really change people's lives with this patch. I'll share a little testimonial of a lovely lady who literally, if she wasn't flat on her back, she was in doctor's rooms, and that was with pain. So we can support the flow of the chi and life force through the body to support pain relief in the most natural way. Then we've got our carnosine patches, who have a host of wonderful things that this supports, but mostly it works on the muscular system and tendons and ligaments. Then we've got our glutathione patches. Just let me share with you one that does, oh, don't worry about that. There we go. So we've got our glutathione patches. This is one where we are cleaning out the body, and we are supporting our body's immune responses. Then we've got SB6, which is all about more to do with cravings. It curbs the cravings, but so much more than that. So when I do our little online closed little forum, I'm going to share more about how amazing this is for our wonderful ladies. This becomes your new BFF. This is another one that will support elevation of melatonin in the brain, which is a really strong antioxidant, which can support cleaning out the brain. And then we have our wonderful energy enhancers that you have spoken about so fondly. And then aloe vera has proven to be worth its weight in gold. Aloe vera there are so many different aspects of this. And in fact, when I started with LifeWave, this was a patch that I was never going to use really, because it's basically based on collagen. It's linked to their night cream and day cream. We don't get it in South Africa, but definitely in the States and other places you can get their night cream and day cream. Smells divine, and it's really amazing. But this was not something that I was even interested in, because I'm not interested in the beauty side of it. I want to do the health side of it. But this has proved to be a wonderful patch for the brain. So I'll talk more around how it's actually a neurobalancer, hormonal balancer, and how profound it can help with lots of different issues going forward. Then we've got our two regenerative patches. So we've got our X39 and our X49. And as I said to you, the one is the daddy peptide, the one is the daughter peptide, and they do very, very different things in the body. And so what they're all about is regenerating the body. So, we've got some amazing patches to really support the body in exactly what is required. So what the patches are doing is all they're doing is talking to the body in the most profound way. And the body, like you've just said, is starting to do its own job. And I think, so someone's just said here, I've got to try this. Can you use them on teenagers? Absolutely. So I believe that most children should be patched with Eon. They are in such stressful environments with school. They are, they are being made to deal with so much stress. They need to attain levels which sometimes they can't. Very competitive. Schools, I don't even get me into that, but schools are not for children. However, we are sending our kids off to a school to learn. And so if we can help them in any way to be able to calm their nervous systems, because that's what Eon does. Eon supports their nervous system, and what it does is it keeps them in a state of calm. So absolutely you can use them for children. We just err on the side of safety when it comes to little ones, because we just want to err on the side of safety. We want parents to take responsibility, learn more about the patches, understand the technology, and then make a decision on their own. So we don't want to, if you've got a pregnant lady, for instance, we don't want to take responsibility. But if it was me and I was pregnant and I understood that this was only giving my body light, I would absolutely. And I'm actually so sorry that this wasn't around when I was pregnant with my child, because I realized that Skylar was actually a neurodiverse child, and I didn't realize it.
Wow.
And I only realized that when I listened to a testimonial of another mommy explain her son, and I was like, oh my word, that's exactly what my son was, and no one helped me figure that out.
Wow. I always love light, the word light, bringing light into the body. And, it's kind of like striking that match, in the places where the fire's gone out. You're just kind of reigniting the body. And I love that. Now, I know there are quite a few. So how would someone choose what patches they would need? And how many can you use at a time?
So look, I always say our flagship product, which is X39, is possibly the most amazing patch. And when you look at how we drastically, or how would I say that, how the production of stem cells in our body is drastically declined. And so I'm not supposed to mention that, but just comes to mind how our healing cells, there's not enough of it. So for us to really support these cells in our body, the ones that are going to replace the sick, the dying, and dysfunctional cells, we need to use something that is going to help our bodies address that on an ongoing basis. So I have slipped something out, which I'm not allowed to slip out now, but we'll leave that to it. Oopsie. But it's so hard for me when I do this because I'm so... all I want to do is just say it, but we're not allowed to, and I really don't want to get myself in trouble. So the thing is, you see the decline, okay, of these cells in the body. And unfortunately, the problem is that it actually declines from age 1. So we think that we've got a lot of these cells happening in our body all the way through our life, but we don't. So from 1 onwards, there's a dramatic decline in our healing cells. And so this is what makes, the X39 so profound, because it's going to start supporting more and elevating more of the production of that to support the repair of our body. And so for me, that is really important. So you start with X39 because it's our flagship, because it does so much. And then what you can do is you can add the other patches onto that. Most of what I'm finding with people at the moment that are starting with LifeWave is they're just staying on the X39 patches, and they're not being helped to try some of the other patches to support what they're going through, and then they don't get the results. And so that's quite sad, because people are then just assuming that it doesn't work. But it's not that it doesn't work. You just haven't understood how to use the patches correctly, and bearing in mind that this is not a quick fix.
Yes,
you are needing to stay on the patches because you're elevating peptides. And if you're elevating peptides, it's a slower process, but a more meticulous process. So it's important to remember that. And also, how long have you had the issue? How old are you? The older we get, the slower our healing processes are. And also remember how long you've had it. I've got people who would love to use 1 month's supply of patches that they've had 30 years of some chronic health issue. It just doesn't work like that. So I think we need to be practical in the sense that we need to make sure that we are understanding the technology, we are understanding where we are with our health, and then fully understanding what this amazing technology is going to do for your body. So, I think I can go into more in-depth discussion on it, and we can really educate your wonderful viewers going forward on how to use the right patches, what to do, with many of the different issues that they might be having at this point in time, and help people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Exactly. And honestly, I can truly say this, that how this has worked for me. And as I said, I don't have health problems, but I had the tired issue, and that's been for years. And literally within days, that sorted itself out for me. That was amazing. And just what I've seen with my mom and her, and how she perked up, literally perked up within a day. Her whole energy shifted. Her memory became clearer. Just from, and she was taking the same ones that I was taking. So, it's really amazing to actually see how this does work. So, I love the...
Can you imagine if your body at 70, 80, 90 is actually switching off? Because that's kind of how we leave the planet. That's our 360. I mean, if we didn't have that off switch, we wouldn't be dying. So can you imagine if you have, a 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old who's now winding down? So they get slower, things start working less, and you suddenly put the on switch on, and you suddenly just send, like, I don't know, 10,000 volts into that little plug point, and suddenly everything lights up. It's almost like one of those little jingy machines when you're in those little old little machines that you used to play in the gaming. So you've got all this ringing of the bells, and you've got all these lights going on, and your whole body's going, holy crap, what has happened now? And it's like, oh, look, I haven't fixed that in years, and I haven't fixed that in years. And I almost think that's what happens. Your body just gets like you said, it just wakes up, and can you imagine with someone that is feeling like your poor mom? And we get this with a lot of elderly people, where they have a new lease of life. They suddenly say, oh my word, I feel like doing more, I feel like living more.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm not going to die soon.
Exactly. It's so true that. It's so true that. I want to just see if there's anything else. And I know, as I said, we're going to be doing a closed chat. Just, I'm interested as well. How long have you been involved personally? How long have you been involved with it? And how's it worked for you, actually? I'd be interested to hear that.
So very interestingly, I've been with LifeWave for 6 years. The first 3 years, I did not use LifeWave. I didn't feel the need. I'm not ill. I don't have any health issues. But very interestingly, I have a thyroid issue that I've had since I was a young girl. So I would always go to the doctor with a sore throat, and they'd always stick the stick down my throat and say, ooh, you better go and check that out. And I would like, ooh, there's nothing wrong with it, so just leave it where it is. I never really had to take anything for it. So I had amazing improvement. Then I broke my little toe, and I had no pain. And then I'm not going to be able to share exactly this, but this is what blew my mind. I realized that we can change the terrain. And as a wellness practitioner, if you can change the terrain, many things will be different inside the body. And so I will expand on that. That's a really amazing testimonial that I will share when we do our closed forum, because that really blew my mind. If we can change the inside of our body in such a way that it makes it healthier, because we know that inside of most of our bodies is totally unhealthy. It's full of toxicity, it's full of fungus, it's full of candida, all those kind of things, which means that pathogens thrive. So if you can tip the scales in your favor with an incredible technology that only gives you light, then how many more things can change if you are struggling with your health?
Right. Exactly. I love that. And change, absolutely. I identify with change the terrain, because you know what I find as a healer as well, when someone works with you, you become co-creators in the healing process. You work with the product. You prepare yourself so that you can be supported. And it's no matter what anyone says, I don't care what type of healing you're doing. Anyone who's been in a position where you've got major health issues, whatever, especially if they're self-imposed, right? Most of us are. Our health issues are self-imposed. Let's just be honest about that. So then you take responsibility to detox or cleanse, as you say, prepare the terrain, use the products, work with them. And then we have no option but to actually have success from that. And that's amazing that you also have the different patches that support each other with the different parts of the body, or the different parts of the anatomy, mind, emotions, right? It's kind of like little lights going on, like Connect the dots. They all work together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not only that, I would love to share that besides these wonderful patches, David is going to bring out something that is going to blow our mind even more. So David is going to launch a water machine, and it looks a little like a coffee machine. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually have light infused water. When they used Keelan photography, the person that was drinking the water actually had light coming out of his throat.
Wow.
So this is about to really change, I think, our well-being as we know it. He's really an incredible person who thinks ahead, who apparently his lab is full of so many different things, it will blow our minds. So this is going to be launched in particular for the American people. They're going to get it first, which lucky. And it takes about 45 minutes to get the water into a glass, and you only need 1 glass of water a day. So besides our wonderful technology with LifeWave, the patches, we must remember that our body is water. And can you imagine putting the water and the patches together in the same equation? What is going to happen with your body?
Wow. And that's amazing to me, though. 1 glass of water, but one tends to think that 8 glasses of water actually get everything flowing.
1 glass of this water. 1 glass of this water. So yeah, for that, you'll still probably be having, but we don't know. Because imagine we can have 1 glass of water that rehydrates us better than having 8 glasses of crap water that doesn't rehydrate us.
Hey, that's where my mind's going. I can't deny that.
So exactly. So we don't know the exact stats of it. We don't know when they've launched it. They're doing clinical studies now. They've actually given it to a few of their brand partners. They're very high up brand partners to use. And then they're doing the testing on them. So they will give us those results. But apparently it's about to blow our minds.
I'm so happy for that because, really the water that we have nowadays is of shocking quality. I mean, we are so lied to as well about where our water comes from. I mean, here in South Africa, we've got the most beautiful water, right? And we really do, coming from the mountains and things like that. And yet we get fed this unbelievable gunk. Anyway.
Well, you know what he said, David? It took him a while to bring the actual device to market because he was looking for a filtering system that would remove the plastics. So not only does it remove the plastics, it turns it into hydrogen water, and then it infuses it with light. So you can imagine.
Wow. That's powerful. I look forward to, and when are we expecting that one? Do we have any idea?
The middle of this year, they should be launching it, and that will only be for the USA. So it will start there first, and then obviously go to Europe, and then we may only see it in South Africa much later. It is what it is.
What are you talking about? We're the guinea pigs for the world. We're supposed to get it first. How come the Americanos get it first this time? Usually you guys. I'd like to be a guinea pig for that.
Absolutely, I might be hard.
Exactly. But anyway, I know that we're just about out of time here. But I want to know, because I know with LifeWave, the patches as well, and I'm not sure if we can talk about this on here or on the closed forum, but not only can you take them, but this is also a business opportunity. Can we talk about this here?
Yes, we can. And I think it's a great one because I think, when we look at LifeWave as a business, how many people we can help with this technology. When I look at Maritza's story and I share it sometimes with her journey from where she came for 12 years to where she is now, if I could help one more person get their life back, then I feel like it's sacrilege not to. So it's not that we're, putting it out there that, this is the holy grail of wellness. But honestly, the testimonials that we see on a day-to-day basis, and when I share some more of them in our closed forum, why would you not want to help someone who's tried almost everything and doesn't know about LifeWave? So I think, another thing about network marketing, I think if you fully understand this industry, you'll understand it's like any other business out there, and all you really need to do is work. But very often people they don't understand what they need to do for the work. And so this is what we do in our team, is we actually teach people how to look at network marketing differently and how to change not only the health of those around them and themselves, but the health of their financial situation, because many people after lockdown are really struggling, and it's very, very sad.
It is, and all over, definitely. So it would be a business opportunity where you would join obviously promote the product, and in that way at the same time help people get healthy as well as yourself. So it really is just a one big flow of health consciousness.
Absolutely. And I think this is where I love what David's mission is, you know, apparently he's asked every Christmas by his mother-in-law what he would like for Christmas. And he keeps on saying world peace. He believes if more people use his patches, we will have that.
World peace. Let's hope.
No more wars, and no more wars.
Exactly. So I'm going to say, I don't think we've put any of my details in the description, but how can, or shall I just get people to contact me? Shall they contact you if people want further information?
Because, contact Chantal directly. If you need Chantal to refer to me, and if you are wanting to chat to me via a Zoom call, you are more than welcome to. We can hop on a call and we can chat more about anything that you are struggling with so that I can guide you in the right direction. Probably the best way to do it is to do a bit of a Zoom call with me, and then we can chat more. Because you don't want to start the patches and not fully understand what you need to do going forward. That's really important. Otherwise, you are going to feel like it's not working for you, and that's not the case. You just need to understand which ones to use and how to use them correctly, and then you're really going to be on the right road to your wellness journey.
Absolutely. So if there's anyone who wants just right now any more information, or if you'd like to try the product, please contact me on chantelmayberg@gmail.com. There's my email address. And what Mandy and I will arrange now that we're going to be doing a closed meeting on Zoom. And then you guys will all be invited. As I said, we can't record, unfortunately, or play it on air, but just where we go into the nitty-gritty, the background, the details of how it works, and all the nuts and bolts of everything. So if you're interested in possibly changing your meds, trying this, I am not sorry I've tried this stuff on my mother. I'll tell you that much. It's made a big difference to her life. I promise you that. So yeah, contact me. And then also Mandy and I will be arranging that meeting. Watch the space. I'll be advertising it. And you guys are welcome to come and join us then on one of the Zoom calls where we can explain. I'm like getting all my Halma wrong. Yeah, then we can explain more and how you want to get involved, if you want to get involved. It's amazing. So, Mandy, is there anything else you would maybe like to just share or end off with this evening?
No, I think, you know what, Chantal, if we do this closed forum where I am able to speak more freely, I think for those of you that are interested and you want to learn more, you're more than welcome to bring your questions to that. And what I'll do is I'll go through each product. I'll explain how we work with each product, what we do with each product. And I think for those of you that have any questions, I'll be delighted to answer them for you on the call. And then from there, if you need to refer back to us for further a chat or just further information, you're more than welcome to. And that's what we really want to between Chantal and I, we want to really share that, because that is my passion, is to help people really get better. And to live wonderful lives. So I've been on LifeWave Excellent for 3 years, and absolutely, well, there we go. So, you know, more and more people who understand the technology, who understand wearing it for long enough, should I say, are going to understand. And I'm sure that lovely lady is never going to stop her X39 patches, because she knows exactly what the technology is all about, and she knows what it does. So super, super awesome. I look really forward to chatting with you all and educating you more on this wonderful technology.
Wonderful. And again, if anyone just in the meantime wants to get more information, wants me to hook you up with Mandy for a one-on-one Zoom call, she's very happy to chat. I'm happy to join if anyone needs me to as well. Not that I'll be much help there, but I'll be your back girl support. I'll be your wing girl.
Yeah, but I need to Chantal becoming a Mandy, so she will be there.
Yes, I will be there. Okay, and then obviously we will talk also more about, I think, the business opportunity side of it then. But if there's anyone in the meantime interested, chat to me. Let's make some money. There's nothing wrong with making money. Let's get healthy. Let's get happy. Let's just spread some beautiful energy and do it naturally, you know. Let's kick Big Pharma in the butt. We have so many of our guests. I mean, Jerry Marzinski will tell you over and over, those of you who've been watching my shows with him, from a mental health perspective, what a fast Big Pharma is. The way they put in kids on medication, I mean, it is just unbelievable. So it's time for us as adults to educate ourselves so that we can pass on better knowledge to our children. You know how many children are just given pills? I work with parents. As a healer, I work with parents. I work with children. I mean, I'm like, yes, my child went there. She went to the doctor. I'm like, please don't. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop with the doctor and the medicine. Can we just see what the underlying issue is? It's medicine, 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 medicine. I mean, it's so toxifying to the body. All those heavy metals are sitting in the kidneys. And then are we surprised we get renal failure and all sorts of, please just stop with the medicine. Please, guys, please. There are other alternatives. Promise there are. Come and join Mandy and I. Okay, we're going to chat. Email me if you guys want to chat with Mandy in the meantime. Otherwise, watch the space. I'm going to be putting up a closed meeting in the very near future. And yay, Arrow Tribe, come and join us. Look forward to having you all then. Okay, everybody. God bless you all. Yes, I know I've been a little bit scarce this week, but as you can see, my eyes. I'm brave to be facing you all looking with my eyes like this. Anyway, I will see you guys next week. I've got Gary Wayne on Monday night again. And gosh, got some great new guests that are popping up that I'll be interviewing. So watch the space. Look forward to seeing you all then. God bless you guys. Take care. Eek. Wait, no. Am I frozen? I'm about to say goodbye.